I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today. I
I'm
really am a
excited to
little,
be here.
yeah, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I'm sure you are swamped with responsibilities and obligations as the founder of Muse. Did I say that right? Is it Muse?
Yeah, Muse, yep.
Muse. This is a tool that measures your brain waves. It's basically an EEG machine that you can wear while you meditate and while you sleep.
You got it.
And this is really interesting stuff to me as someone who's been practicing meditation every single day for 7 years and reading the books of Joe Dispenza, things like neuroscience and neuroplasticity, and being able to upregulate our DNA and our proteins and our genes to live a healthier life physically and mentally is something that I try to live and be every single day. So it really is an honor to have you on the podcast today.
Oh, it is my joy and pleasure to be here with you. Super excited to be meeting you.
Awesome. Amazing. So you are a neuroscientist. Before we get into the conversation, can you tell everyone about your credentials?
Sure. So I was trained as a neuroscientist at the University of Toronto. And from there, I went on to work in research labs looking at things like hippocampal neurogenesis, which is the growth of new neurons in the hippocampus. We literally put rats on a running wheel, and through simply exercise, they would upregulate their BDNF, brain derived neurotrophic factor, which would lead to the growth of new neurons in the dentate gyrus of their hippocampus, which is the little part of your brain where new neurons are born. So when you think about neuroplasticity, we used to believe that you couldn't make new neurons in adulthood. Not only could you not make new connections, but you can't make new neurons. And frankly, if you stick a rat on a running wheel, they'll start making new neurons. And when you get on that same treadmill that's a little bit bigger, you're also helping and supporting your brain and inducing hippocampal neurogenesis.
Amazing.
So
Now,
did that, then worked with Dr. Steve Mann. He's one of the inventors of the wearable computer. We started working with an early brain-computer interface system. Along the way, I was trained as a psychotherapist and was in private practice for a decade, and then continued to work with Dr. Mann and establish my own lab using Muse, which is a clinical grade EEG, which is 4 sensors. It's now been published in over 200 third party research studies. So it's quite incredible that we have this device that we get to use to help people meditate and sleep.
amazing. I have so many questions I want to ask you, but I think the first question I want to ask you, because I was going to mention about the new neurons and how recent of a discovery this is, but I have an even better question. So when it comes to the EEG, right? This is measuring our brainwave activity, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the average person would be like, why would I need to measure my brainwave activity? But from what I understand, the more coherent our brainwaves are, the more our cardiovascular system, our digestive system, our immune system is able to work more efficiently. And in order to be as efficient as possible, we must remain as present as possible. And that's where it comes full circle with meditation.
That's a lot of links that you just made, and they're actually sensible links. That's cool. So do you want me to expand on that and sort of
Please,
break it down? All right.
please.
So, how are brainwaves generated? So, our neurons communicate electrochemically. There's little electrical signals that go back and forth that signal from one neuron to the other to do something. The sum total of this electrical communication can be read on the surface of the head, and these are your brainwaves. At every moment in time, we have a range of different brain waves. So
Yeah.
some parts of our brain are working incredibly quickly and we have gamma activity or beta activity. Some parts of our brain are working slowly. And these waves interact with one another and support each other. In sleep, for example, you end up with these very coherent brain waves. So, what coherent means is that most things are working within the same pattern at the same time. So, in deep sleep, you have this delta activity that actually just sort of dominates your whole brain. So, rather
And
than
that's a
being,
good thing. Sorry to cut you off, but we
yes,
want that. We want them to
you
work
want
as
that.
coherently as possible.
So you want the right mix. So in sleep, all of them working on the same rhythm allows for the consolidation of knowledge, allows for communication between neurons in a different way. During the day, you're going to be in different states at different times. Sometimes your brain's going to be super active. There is a state of meditation in which you do create more coherence in your brain waves. Your brain waves slow down. You see more of a consistent alpha rhythm. You see coherence between different parts of your brain. And when that happens, it turns out that you're more focused, you're more relaxed, and you're more able to make better decisions about what goes on in your life. It's a very restful state for your brain, and it ends up being actually an incredibly healthy state for your body.
Yeah, and that's the exact answer I was looking for. So just like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and radio signals, we can't see them, but they exist. Just like these signals, our brain has are they electromagnetic waves, are they? They are,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Electromagnetic waves, they are invisible to the eye. They are invisible to the eye, but you can see them. And this really has a lot of relations to the law of attraction and the secret and manifestation. And that's the spiritual realm. And a lot of people like to connect all of this to the universe and God and things like that. And we're not going to get into that today because I don't know if that's something you to like to talk about. Well, we're going to stick to the science here. So, how can someone that's listening, if they trust you and they trust me and they want to have more coherent brainwaves, what are some easy ways they could do this?
Sure. So the easiest way is a meditation practice.
Ah,
So, ta-da! So in your most basic meditation practice, what you're doing is you're focusing your attention on your breath. When your mind wanders away into a thought, you notice it, and instead of following that thought, you come back to your breath. Super easy, also kind of really hard. Now, most people have this misconception that meditation's about your mind going blank and then you'll like levitate or something. I think it's easier to levitate than make your mind go blank. What you're really learning in this practice is to bring all of your attention into your breath on one thing, which creates a sense of coherence in your brain. And then when you wander off into thought, which then increases your beta activity and decreases the coherence in your brain, instead of following that thought, to let it go and come on back to your breath. Now, when you do this, what you're also learning to do is to observe your thinking and then be able to choose the contents of your thought. Because most of us just kind of go through life on autopilot and we're like, we have thoughts in our head, therefore we should be thinking them. And those thoughts are telling me that, like, I'm grumpy right now and this thing sucks and my mother annoyed me and. And actually, it's not really helpful to think these things. So once we become aware of the contents of our thought, we can then say, hey, I actually have a choice. Like, I know that I cannot follow that thought and put my attention elsewhere. I cannot follow that thought and put my attention on the work in front of me. I can put my attention onto a positive thought that I choose to have.
right,
By not following that thought, I can also realize, like, hey, maybe that thought isn't even true. Rather than just thinking it, which makes you believe that it's true because you're thinking it, once you have something called metacognition, which is something that uses your prefrontal cortex to allow you to jump up to see the process of your thinking, you're able to then make better discernment about what's in your mind.
ah, amazing. And choosing your thoughts. It seems simple, but most people aren't even aware of the thoughts they're currently having. A lot of people identify with their thoughts. They identify with their emotions. I'm sad. No, you're Zach. You just feel this way, right? And being able to watch your thoughts, having awareness, it builds consciousness inside of you. Eckhart Tolle said it best. You are you. Your thoughts are your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You're the awareness of your thoughts. And meditation is the practice, it is the exercise so that you could be more aware of your thoughts. And if you're aware of your thoughts, you can choose your thoughts. You can choose positivity. You can choose kindness. You can choose love, right? You can choose to not get upset when you get a flat tire on your way to the most important appointment of your life, which has happened to a lot of us, right? So there are exterior circumstances in the world, in the universe, in your life that are going to throw some challenges your way. And if you can choose positivity and choose optimism, life gets easier. Let's not create resistance to all these issues that we have in our lives, and let's choose our thoughts wisely.
Very, very well said. And there's a famous phrase, what we resist persists. So if we become frustrated by this thing and we keep resisting it and being angry and annoyed at it, we're only keeping it alive through our own anger and annoyance.
Right,
And when we accept that, like, this is what happened, I can shift my perspective on it, then we just let it go.
right.
And what you just described is like the definition of resilience. So, somebody who's resilient is able to go through a difficult and annoying experience and come out the other side of it with more knowledge, more experience, and a better perspective, rather than just, oh my God, that was annoying. I hate this life. So, as we do this, as we choose our perspective, we build resilience and we become stronger, better, more evolved human beings.
Amazing. Amazing. So I want to stick to the science, the biology, the
Yep.
physiology, how our body changes. If we are in control of our brain waves, and correct me if I'm wrong, beta, gamma, delta, alpha, theta. Is that right?
Those Yeah, so gamma's the highest, then
Oh,
beta, then alpha, then theta, then delta's the slowest.
okay, okay. So I had delta at the top. It should be at the bottom. So is delta where we want to be? Is theta where we want to be? And when we're at the deepest state, when our brain waves are symmetrical on the EEG and perfectly coherent, right? The amplitude and the frequency are like perfect on point. Let's imagine the most perfect EEG you've ever seen, where you see it and you're just like, oh my god, that's amazing. What happens to the physiology of our body? Are we able to upregulate genes? Do the mitochondria in our cells become healthier? Tell us more about the biology and what changes inside our body when we are in that perfectly coherent brainwave state.
Sure. And again, I'll say, our brains are different every day. There is no perfect coherence except when you're in deep sleep and you've got, beautiful delta coherence. Um, but when we drop into alpha theta states, meditation states, when we're able to calm our mind and maintain our focus, when we're able to let go of those wandering thoughts, some pretty amazing things can happen inside your body. So there's research by Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn. She's a Nobel Prize winning scientist. And she showed that simply by changing your thoughts, you can actually lengthen your telomeres. So telomeres are like the little shoe caps on the end of your shoelace. They're the little pieces that protect your DNA. And when you go through stressful events, those telomeres shorten, meaning that your cellular age is aging. Your cells are not going to be in as good shape. When you start a meditation practice, over time you actually see a lengthening of those telomeres. You actually see what, as she called it, an improvement in the cellular milieu. So like your actual cellular health and your cellular age changes. And part of that is the dynamics of being in coherence in your brain and your heart. And part of it is also not having negative thoughts. And it's fascinating because having negative thinking actually can aid you. And when you shift from the negative thought to the positive thought, it actually can improve your actual cellular fluids, the actual environment of your cells. And this isn't necessarily some sort of magic. As we engage in a difficult thought that is stressful and annoying, and as we have it repeat in our brain, it triggers our HPA axis, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Your hypothalamus is in your brain, your adrenals then secrete hormones. The hormone cortisol starts rushing through your body, and the cortisol is highly degradative to your body. When you reduce your cortisol levels by shifting your mental perspective, you actually improve the health of your body, and you can do that significantly. Not only that, you can actually improve the health of your brain. So, in a study by Dr. Eileen Luders, she demonstrated that long term meditators have brains that look on average 7.5 years younger. And she defined a long term meditator as somebody who'd been meditating for 5 years or more. So, like, pretty
Wow.
great investment.
Yes.
And
Love it.
what, yeah, particularly since you've had a long term practice, you're doing well. And so, what she found was long term meditators have a thicker prefrontal cortex. They have increased volume in their hippocampus, which is the part of your brain associated with learning and memory. And the work of Dr. Sarah Lazar at Harvard demonstrated that you see increased connections in your corpus callosum through a long term meditation practice. That's your left and right hemispheres coordination mechanisms. You see increase in the density of your gray matter, and you can see that after just 8 weeks of meditation. That's the number of neural
Wow.
connections you have in your brain.
Just two
And
months
so,
of daily practice.
yeah, so meditation makes real physical change in your
Right.
brain.
Amazing. Now, everything that you have mentioned is backed up by proof and evidence. This is fact. No one can argue it.
There are 8,000 published studies demonstrating the impact of meditation on the brain and the body.
Amazing. And you know what? It's so ironic because different people get into start their meditation journey in different ways, and it's the science that really interests me because you hear so many stories of people, beating cancer, beating Parkinson's, being able to regenerate these proteins and genes to build back their spine. I don't know if you have a relationship with Dr. Joe Dispenza, or Dr. Joe Dispenza, but his
Of course.
story is just incredible, right? When I read the book Becoming Supernatural, my life changed forever, and I was meditating already, but now I doubled down on the meditation and neuroplasticity and neurogenesis and neuroscience. All the work that you're doing is really, it's challenging all the things that were taught over so many years about food, about exercise, about all the. So, what's your take on the transition that the healthcare industry, I'm just going to call it, is doing, and are they using what we're talking about and incorporating it into recovery techniques?
They actually are. So, a decade ago as a psychotherapist, meditation was just starting to be talked about. And then by just a few years ago, meditation is the frontline approach that you are taught as a psychotherapist. It's
Amazing.
also, a frontline approach at places like the Mayo Clinic. So we have multiple studies running with the Mayo Clinic, one using Muse meditation with breast cancer patients, and they saw a decrease in their stress, their fatigue, and improvement in their cancer care process. They now have multiple other studies running in different conditions. So there is a huge, not only interest from the healthcare field, but an understanding of the value of meditation to improve your physical and psychological health. But not just your psychological health, your actual physical health, your ability to recover faster, to sleep better during the process, which then helps you recover, to improve your quality of life, to improve your pain. There's tremendous uptake that we've seen. We have tons of doctors and clinicians that use Muse themselves and recommend it to their patients, knowing the impact that it can have.
Wow. It really is incredible. Finally, meditation is starting to be looked at as a technique to get better, and
Yes.
it's kind of like the baseline of consciousness. I mean, we should be aware of our thoughts in the first place. Let me ask you this: why do you think we aren't taught this in school? Why am I, someone who's 31, while I'm in school, is taught about calculus and I'm learning about the Pythagorean theorem, but no one teaches me the benefits of meditation?
Because you're 31. I'm 42. I didn't learn it either in school. However, it is something that is currently being taught in school. So I've got a 5-year-old and he learns to meditate in class. They do cosmic yoga, from YouTube. They have little meditations that they do. So it really has trickled down into more progressive school systems. And it's starting at the bottom, at, junior kindergarten. So certainly it wasn't something that you'd ever think to teach in school when we were kids. It would have been weird. But now there's enough evidence to really demonstrate the impact of teaching this kind of social emotional learning at a young age. And there's a very cool study from a program called Mind Up. And they taught elementary school students to meditate, and they saw a 15% improvement in math scores, which is awesome. But even far more awesome, a 24% improvement in pro-social behavior and a 25% decrease in aggression. Using Muse, there was a study with grade 7 students at Kansas State University that they did, and they showed that instances of kids being sent to the detention reduced by 72%.
Wow.
Yeah.
What more evidence do you need? What more evidence do you need? People are behaving better, we're learning faster, we're becoming healthier, we're being more positive. I think meditation should be mandated. I think it should be a federal mandate. What do you think?
I truly believe that if everybody meditated, the world would be a better place. And that's literally why we made Muse. It's like meditation can be confusing and hard to figure out what to do. We can build a tool that's going to make it straightforward for you and get you to start and then maintain your practice. So I've always said if everybody just meditated, we would have less war, we would have less scarcity thinking, we would have, improved relationships, improved physical health. There's so many benefits. It's just how you get people to start and then continue the practice, because just like healthy eating or going to the gym, it's something you need to be doing regularly as a part of your life in order to see those long-term benefits.
Absolutely. I think we'll end with that. If everyone just meditated, the world would be a better place. Ariel, I want to thank you so much again for your time, taking out of your busy schedule to hop on the podcast today. If anyone is interested in checking out a Muse, head over to muse.com. Is that the website?
Yeah, you can go to choosemuse.com.
Okay. Choosemuse.com.
Yep, and you can use the discount code LAUNCH15.
Launch15. I assume that's 15% off.
That is.
Beautiful. Yep.
Awesome.
And to all the people that are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Audible, thank you so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for sticking around up till now. I'll drop the links to Ariel's website and Muse and all the good things. I'll put the promo code in there. Thank you again for your time today. I wish you nothing but all the health, wealth, success, and happiness this year for you and your friends and your family.